Hey guys, how you doing? This is Jason Ramos with Good Vibes Real Estate Solutions. Welcome to another episode of
Chat with Chatto. Welcome. Thank you for coming out to watch us again. It's been a week since we last saw you. And last week we asked you to go out and set up a follow-up sequence so that you can follow up with your leads as they come in. As some of these leads come in, chances are you're going to get somebody who wants to sell their house. You guys agree to a price. Now you need some kind of paperwork. You need some kind of documentation. And one of the questions that we always get is, do I need an LLC? Can I do it my own name? Where do I get the docs from? So right off the bat, this isn't legal advice. This is what we do in our business. We are not lawyers, we're not accountants, and all those other disclaimers. So this is not legal advice. This is just what we do in our business. So the first question is, do you need an LLC in order to get this property under contract? What do you think?
Do you need an LLC? Well, first of all, congratulations guys. Your phone is ringing tremendously and you got somebody on the hook. Do you need an LLC? Absolutely not. All right, absolutely not. When we first did our first deals, for about a year before we even formed the LLC, we just put them under our personal names. So here's the thing, you're assigning your contracts. So it doesn't even matter whose name is on the initial contract with the seller, as long as the end buyer, you assign it to them. That's all that's going to be on the hood. So you don't have to worry about that. So for right now, focus on getting deals. Don't focus on building a business and creating an LLC for protection and all that stuff. Once you're doing deals on a consistent basis, then you go into that. So as for an LLC, just put in your personal name right now. No big deal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you get started, I would agree with that, obviously. So the next question is, okay, so you get the property, you have an agreement, you want to get under contract. Well, where do you get the contract from? What does the contract need to say on it? So we're going to include, when we started, we went under a gentleman named Sean Terry. He's with flip2freedom.com, flip2freedom.com. Great resource. We joined his program and we downloaded his little 2-pager. It's a little 2-page contract. It's simple, it's easy, and we started using it. And we haven't really had an issue with it, to be honest with you. I've actually had attorneys where sellers had an attorney. We send them the contract, and then the attorney calls me up. It's like, hey, can I write the contract up? No problem. He copies and pastes the contract in. I'm like, really? Just so you could charge somebody a fee? So it's like, anyway. So that being said, we are going to provide a copy of the contract that we use. Again, it's not legal advice. It's just the contract we use. So we're going to provide that for you to give you an idea of something that works. And then you can consult with a local attorney on that. That being said,
so for those of you that are in an attorney state where an attorney has to use a state contract, absolutely go that route. You just want to make sure there's two things in the contract. Number one, the contract has to be assignable. So I know in New Jersey where we are, our contracts are not assignable, so we literally have to cross that out if we use a state contract. And number two, you need to have your inspection clause. And we talked about the inspection clause in a previous video, but that's one of our outs. All right, contingent upon inspection, approval of inspection up until the day of, closing, up until transfer of title. That's what it states. So until we transfer title, we have an out. So you want to make sure that out is in the contract. So if any attorney prepares it for you, you have to make sure those two things are in there. Number one, the contract is assignable. Number two, you have an inspection clause contingency out, so that you can get out of this contract if you don't find a buyer in time. So the 2-pager works in our state. We use title companies, but if you have to use a state contract, then consult with your attorney. Okay.
yeah, absolutely. And then if for some reason there's a realtor involved, realtors are always going to use the state contract. And like I said, we just cross it out and write, that it's assignable.
Right.
Really haven't had an issue because we don't know what name we're going to be taking title in, so we need it to be assignable.
Right, and that's what you tell them. Just say, if they ever question, why are you making it assignable? Well, it's in my personal name right now. I don't know what name I'm going to take title in. Usually I create an entity, and usually when you sell it to an end buyer, they have an entity, so it kind of like goes. So
Absolutely.
You don't know what name you're going to put it in. That's why you need it to be assignable.
Absolutely. So basically what's going to happen is you're going to get this contract and print it out. You're going to put all the stuff on it. You're going to sign it. The seller's going to sign it. Now you have a signed contract. So now what? Now what do you do? At this point, you need to start the title work, right? You need to send it over to your title company. when you reach out to them, you send them the title work, and then what's going to happen is they're going to do a title search on the property. So while that's going on, so you get the property under contract, the title work has begun. They're figuring out what needs to be done to close on the deal. While that's happening, now you have your 2 weeks or so to find your buyer.
Right. That's when the fun begins. It's time to start marketing for your buyers. Okay, so now, remember what we said before, the contract is your bait. All right, so now you got the bait on the hook and you're throwing it out in the water. And now you're trying to lure in your little buyer. Okay, so this is beautiful. A lot of times when you're first starting out, you're going to lock it up too high. So just remember when we talked about, you got to make sure that your price is correct. You have to leave enough meat on the bone that it's appealing to the buyer. You know, once you have it at the correct price and the buyer, it's out there in the buyer pool, that's when you get your buyer. Okay, so you want to go to places like Zillow, Craigslist. If you can put it on the MLS, put it on the MLS. You want to blast it as many places as possible. Some people put bandit signs on the poles in the areas that are highly cash buyer friendly, and they get these things marketed everywhere. That's how you're going to build your buyers list. Okay, so once you find a buyer that's interested and they're willing to pay a price that you have in mind, there's another contract for them as well. And what contract is that?
That's going to be an assignment contract. So an assignment contract is basically, usually it's a one-page agreement. Again, we'll put an example of one we used in the past in the notes below. But a assignment agreement is basically an agreement saying that, you know, hey, I'm Steve Chatto. I'm buying this house at 123 Main Street. And if I want to sell it to Jay as the end buyer, I'm going to sell my spot in that contract. I'm going to assign it to Jay for a fee. So if I have a property locked up for $50,000, he says, you know what, I'll pay $60,000, right? Then all I need to do is sell him my interest in that contract for the $10,000 with a simple assignment agreement. That assignment agreement then gets forwarded to the title company, and now the property goes from the seller directly to him, and I step out.
All right, you collect your nice check, your assignment check at the title company. So just keep in mind, guys, you're not selling real estate. You are selling a piece of paper. You're selling your rights to a contract. And that's very important. That's the fine line between you being an investor and you being a realtor and acting as an agent. So if you act as an agent and you're selling properties and you're not licensed, you're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna get fined for that. So
Absolutely.
You are flipping contracts. And you have every right to do it because you have an equitable interest in the contract, because as soon as you sign it with the seller, you now have an equitable interest in that property. So just keep that in mind. So once you get the buyer on the hook, you got him. So just keep that in mind, all right? What else?
So another couple small things, we're talking about some of this technical stuff. With the assignment agreement, there's a lot of different schools of thought, but at the end of the day, you need some sort of non-refundable deposit from your buyer, right? Because if I have a property under contract for $50,000 from the seller, Jay says, yeah, I'll buy it for $60,000, right? I say, okay, sign the paperwork, send it to the title company, comes the day before closing, and Jay doesn't have the money for whatever reason. I don't know why he wouldn't have the money, but Jay doesn't have the money. He says, I don't want to close. Now I got the seller looking at me because he signed the contract with me, ready to close. I'm looking at Jay, and Jay's like, I don't care. Then I'm like, I'm stuck, right? So I need something to ensure that he is going to perform. It's got to be a decent amount of money. It's got to be enough money that it's going to hurt very badly to walk away, right? So that's just something else to consider. You got to check with a local attorney, figure out what the laws are. Like, if Jay doesn't perform on that assignment agreement, like, can you keep the money? You know, who's the money written to? Does the title company have it? Is the title company going to release it to you? If he doesn't perform, are they going to give it back to him because everything fell apart? It's like, these are little things you're going to need to figure out in your own local market.
Right. So guys, at the end of the day, this is your business. So number one is you need to protect your seller at all costs. So if you have a contract with this person, you need to make sure this thing closes. So you have to find somebody that's reliable as a buyer, somebody that's, purchased properties before and they have a good reputation around the area. And number two, one of the things that we do to protect ourselves, let's just say that we have a contract with the buyer for 30 days, right? And it's due on the 30th of the month. We tell the buyer, hey, you got to close by, the 17th or the 15th. So if they renege and they don't close by that date, we still have time to market this property and find a new buyer to step in their place. So if you have a smoking hot deal, and the price is right, you'll be able to find a buyer quickly, especially in a hot market. So always
Absolutely.
give yourself that gap. You don't want to push it to the end of the contract with the seller, because now if they leave, you're stuck. And now that's your reputation on the line. And if you have to cancel numerous amounts of contracts, that's your company, that's your business, that's your reputation. Oh, don't deal with these guys. And this is a digital world. People go on the internet. So if your company name is getting tarnished because you're dealing with unreliable buyers, you're going to be the one that suffers for it. So make sure
Absolutely.
you give yourself that gap. All right.
Cool. So, you know what? We need to give him some action steps for next week.
Yes, we do. So now your phone is ringing. All right. You got all these people coming, calling you, and it's time to make some money.
Money. There we
So
go.
this
Let's
is
do
what
it.
we're all here for. We're all here to make money. So the action step that we're going to give you is make some offers.
Ooh.
Okay. You got these brand new contracts in the links below. All right. You got a contract with the seller, and you got a contract with the buyer. So what I want you to do is when you're sending out your offers, you're going to be using the contract with you and the seller, and just send it out. Put the amount in there. Fill in the information. Send it to their email address, and that's your offer. So if you're not making offers in this business, guess what else you're not making?
You're not making any money, right? It was explained to me once, and it really clicked for me. Right, that signed contract, that's like money. Like that right there, that in our business, a signed purchase and sale agreement at a good price, that right there is money. So again, you're not making offers, you're not getting any contracts, you're not getting any contracts, you're not making any money, right? So that being said, make offers. Now, I want to give you guys a little story, right? Because you like stories, and they kind of help you put everything together. So we had a lead on a property. It was a multifamily property, a 5-unit property, and the gentleman wanted what, like 250,000 or some
250.
ridiculous amount, which might be great in your market, but in our market, ain't gonna fly. We did our calculations, we did our numbers, we determined our offer price was gonna be 160. So we sent out the offer, and guess what?
Denied.
Denied. No way. Ain't doing that. Forget it. So, but we talked about last time, follow up, getting back in touch with these people.
And determining the motivation. We knew this guy was highly motivated.
Why was he motivated?
Because he had to sell, because he owed a lot in taxes, and the tax man was coming. So the guy was highly, highly motivated, and I knew that I didn't have to budge, because eventually time was going to come. Time was going to get him. So my offer stayed the same, because that's where we needed to be. The boogeyman was out to get him. All right, so there was only a matter of time before he loses this property and makes $0. So it was like, okay, I'll wait it out. I built enough rapport in the relationship through the follow-up sequence that I knew that he wasn't going to go anywhere else. He was mine. We built up a nice bond, and he was definitely coming back. So that's what the whole follow-up thing is all about. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that got us the deal. That being said, right, the other piece of it is it sounds like, so this may sound a little counterintuitive, but when we were reaching out to this man, especially initially and even kind of in the middle, he is really, really, really hard to get in touch with. He doesn't have a cell phone. He only has a landline. He's got a job. Like, doesn't call back. Like, it was a nightmare to get in touch with him. And you know what? That was to our advantage, because anybody else that was mailing him, right, and calling him back and leaving a message and then not following up, didn't get in touch with him. Like, we got to a point where we were trying to reach him. We had one of our guys, Leonard, like, hey, Leonard, get on him. Get in touch with this man. And he just boom, boom, boom until he got in touch with him. So just keep that in mind. It's like when it's hard, when somebody's not responsive or a little harder to get in touch with, sometimes that's to your advantage.
And the guy was actually appreciative of that. He said, "Who's this guy Leonard that you have? He's relentless. He's no joke. He's the main reason why I'm doing business with you guys, because he was on him. He was calling him like once or twice a week until he got him. And
Absolutely.
That's what we told him to do, because we knew that there was money in this deal. So we ended up closing 2 weeks ago, I think it was.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, and the guy's happy. He was able to profit. He actually got money out of the deal instead of losing his property. We're happy. We got a nice little chunk of change. Not as much as we would like, but you know what? We took a cut because we wanted to help him out, because we built such a relationship, and everybody moved on. So that's what it's all about: creating a win-win-win. All right, the buyer was happy, we were happy, and the seller was happy. So that's what this whole business is about. And you move on, rinse and repeat.
Absolutely.
So, when you close a deal, it's more money for marketing. You know, it starts the whole cycle over. You put more money in marketing, you get the phone ringing again, you get more offers, it's an endless cycle. So you got to go through every step. So if you guys are just watching this for the first time, go back to our first video where we start talking about, you know, dealing with sellers and talking to them and, you know, getting
Absolutely.
comfortable on the phone, and just go through the whole series again. And we're going to take you from A to B to getting your C to see the check in your hand. See the check in your hand, all right?
Absolutely.
I'm going to show you how to talk to them, how to do the marketing, and how to actually close on a deal. So, guys, definitely keep your questions coming. What's the website again?
So for questions, you reach out to us. Love to get your questions. Helps us build content around what you want to learn. It's questions@goodvibesre. And again, the action step for this week is number one, talk to a local attorney and figure out, like, hey, are these contracts good, or how do I need to modify them for my local area? Number one. Number two, you need to make offers. You must make offers. Because an offer, you don't make an offer, you don't get a contract, you don't make money. Very simple. Make offers. So with that being said, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we're going to see you.
See you next week.
Cool. Thanks a lot, guys.
Take care.